Divine Oracle, Unwritten Words Behind My Novel. The Historical Blueprint of a Great Argead Saga, Alexine. Volume 1, Tlesius, The War Dance. By Malanaki. Audio Essay. Episode 2, The Journey Behind My Novel. Welcome back to Divine Oracle, Unwritten Words Behind My Novel. I am Malanaki. Conceiving and writing the historical epic Alexine, Volume 1. Tlesius, The War Dance, alongside its architectural twin, the companion book, Divine Oracle, was a simultaneous, demanding and at times exhausting labor of love. I realized very early in the process that a narrative deeply rooted in the soil of antiquity requires far more than passive research. It demands a relentless, near-obsessive pursuit of systemic truth to ensure absolute authenticity. These two books were written together because the raw data of one directly breathed life into the other. Questions that surfaced while drafting a scene in the novel would instantly force me back into the historical archives, weaving through a vast web of contradictory timelines and fragmented records. The creative synergy. Alexine, the novel. The living human drama. Divine Oracle, the essay. The raw historical scaffold. This meticulous reconstruction was vital for creating a believable world. I began by mapping a plausible chronological grid linking massive geopolitical events, so they moved with a rigorous, logical momentum. But that was only the superficial layer. For every single scene, I had to mathematically audit who was physically present in the room, and who was not. A task that proved exceptionally volatile when tracking the shifting aristocratic courts of the Macedonian and Theban hegemony. More than once, I found myself returning to completed chapters to completely strip out and rewrite key interactions, after discovering that a specific noble youth or general I had placed on a pony or at a banquet table was historically miles away, or not yet even born. This ceaseless cycle of writing, discovering, correcting, and refining became the breathing rhythm of this project until the final manuscript was sealed. Confronting the bias, restoring the queer antiquity. As a gay author auditing these popular historical narratives, I ran headfirst into a profound systemic distortion within modern historical media, particularly regarding ancient male sexuality. I found myself deeply questioning the persistent anxious aversion modern storytellers have toward portraying legendary titans, like Alexander the Great, as authentically bisexual or gay. This hesitation persists despite an absolute mountain of historical evidence, demonstrating that intense, same-sex romantic and military partnerships among high-ranking men were not scandalous anomalies. They were foundational to the societal structure. It is clear that the modern compulsion to retroactively force these ancient figures into a rigid, Western, heterosexual binary has severely distorted our collective understanding of the ancient world's non-binary and queer realities. I remember the exact moment of awe, shock, and pure exhilaration that hit me when my research uncovered the true nature of the Sacred Band of Thebes, an elite, undefeated shock force comprised strictly of 150 pairs of deeply devoted male lovers. Like most of the modern public, my initial perception of ancient Greek martial brotherhood had been heavily tailored by popular cinematic properties like the 300, which completely omitted these vital queer realities to construct a more palatable heterosexual warrior myth for mass consumption. My explicit mission as an author is to strip away that modern straightwashing. I write through my own distinct identity, eyes, and senses to offer an unfiltered, authentic portal into an era where fluid sexuality was not merely tolerated in secret corners, it was celebrated, structural and actively weaponized as the ultimate emotional bond on the field of slaughter. Filling the silences, the novelist's opportunity. While the grand public arcs, massive campaigns, and bloody triumphs of men like King Philip II, Epaminondas, and Pelopidas are well preserved for their structural impact on Mediterranean history, the intimate, psychological details that make a character human are entirely absent from the academic ledger. Philip's early formative years are preserved only in erratic, scattered fragments. The historical record is even more devastatingly silent when it comes to the women of this era. Alexander's mother, Queen Olympias, stands as a stark example. Her later political machinations are recorded through deeply hostile, deeply biased lenses, while the intimate reality of her early years remains entirely in the dark. The lives of countless other women whose intellect and resilience anchored these massive conquests are routinely left unwritten. For a novelist, this historical void is simultaneously a brutal challenge and an extraordinary creative terrain. To construct a living, breathing human drama out of these silent spaces, one must meticulously extrapolate character psychology, trauma, and motivation from the few documented relationships that survived the collapse of their world. The Currents of Discovery, From Babylon Back to Thebes. I'm not a formal academic or a classical historian. When I first began tracing the cutthroat geopolitics of Macedonia, Thebes, Epirus, Athens, Sparta, and the looming shadow of the Persian Empire, I was stepping into absolute darkness. I knew virtually nothing of their inner workings. Yet it became incredibly thrilling to watch how the complex matrix of these nations began to click together in my mind, shifting, colliding, and pulling against one another like violent ocean currents. My initial, linear ambition was simply to write a novel about Alexander the Great, his rapid conquest of the known world, and his enigmatic death in Babylon. His staggering achievements at only 33 years old felt entirely mythic, raising endless psychological questions about how a single human being could manifest such a reality. But as I dug deeper, I realized I wasn't captivated by the repetitive logistics of military conquest. My true fascination lay in the profound intimacy of his private relationships, specifically his lifelong, unyielding bond with his soulmate Hephaestion and his complex dynamic with Bagos too. To truly comprehend those sacred adult bonds, I had to understand the environment that engineered Alexander's mind. That search inevitably dragged me backward through time to the architects of his youth, his formidable mother, Olympias, and his brilliant father, King Philip II. It was there, in the deep history of Philip, that the true creative lightning bolt struck. I became utterly mesmerized by the realization that Philip himself had been stolen from his home as a 14-year-old boy, dragged down the long road to Thebes as a political hostage. It was there, in the heart of the Theban hegemony, that this young northern prince absorbed the cutting-edge military geometry, logistics, and philosophical education that he would later pass directly down to his son. The absolute blueprint of everything that made Alexander the Great was forged in that early Theban exile. The companion architecture of Divine Oracle has been a confusing, beautiful, and utterly mesmerizing universe to map out. Through this deep excavation, I managed to uncover the hidden gears of these historical figures, giving me the precision required to craft a richer, far more immediate human truth within the pages of the novel. I hope you found yourself completely immersed in the dangerous world of the novel, and I hope you find an equal measure of discovery within this companion history to Alexine, Volume 1. Tlesius, The War Dance. Thank you for listening, and thank you for stepping into the vanguard. Malanaki, August 15, 2025.